All right, so I'm back again. I'm going to do one more live here. This is going to be with Sean Daugherty from UFC 2. For people that are around the sport in the early days, this is going to be up your alley. So I like doing these kind of interviews because these are guys that were around in the beginning. So we're going to be talking with Sean here in just a moment. Just going to wait for him to accept the invite. Sean, you there? You got to turn your camera around.
Yeah, I'm trying. How do I do that on this
Uh,
fucking thing? There it is.
there you go. There you go. There you go. All right. So I'm here with Sean Daugherty. For those of you that were around in the beginning, you would have seen him in UFC 2. And Sean, for anyone who's watching this that doesn't know who you are, maybe you could introduce yourself a little bit.
You just did. Not much about me. I never became a champion or nothing. I just happened to be in the right places at the right time. And, I had enough gumption to put my nuts on the line, I guess. I started martial arts when I was 14, 15 years old. Started kickboxing, and then when I turned 18, saw the UFC one. Told my buddies that I was going to be in the next one, and it just so happened I was up in Buffalo, New York the next week. Um, I was up there to help some friends by the name of Gallants, Bill and Kelly Gallant. They asked me to help run a tournament. Where I was just helping to referee and judge and things like that. It was point karate. But their friend was Kevin Rozier, who fought in the first one. The kickboxer from Buffalo, New York. Charlie Angelo's guy. And then, so I moved up to Buffalo, trained with this guy, and then Charlie got me in with the UFC too. That was when I was 18 years old. So it was like I graduated high school, went to Buffalo, and met Kevin Rozier. I mean, do you know any stories about Kevin Rozier? I mean, do you know anything about like
Uh,
that whole thing?
I did have Art Davey on here, but he didn't really tell any stories about Rozier.
Yeah, he was wild. I mean, he had all kinds of stories from UFC one. He had like his tooth exploded on the plane where he had to get like an emergency root canal and things like that. But the guy's a like an awesome guy, but he had like a lot of psychological issues, mental issues, and alcoholism and drug issues, things like that. So um, I got up there and I was basically homeless. I went up there to train for kickboxing and ended up becoming homeless. And Charlie Angelo and his manager was like, "Yeah, if I would have known you were coming up here, I would have told you don't do it. It's not really a great situation. Things are kind of unraveling for this guy's life right now." And he goes, "But since you're here, I'm going to go see Art Davey and Horion Gracie in a few weeks. If you want me to get you in the next UFC, we can do that." And I said, "Well, shit, yeah, absolutely. I don't want to waste, you know what I mean? Like it didn't have to be a waste of time. Something great happened from something that wasn't so great."
You to
But
this day
that's what got me in the UFC.
competitor, are you not?
What's that?
To this day, you're still the youngest competitor in UFC history. Is that right?
No, later on, Dan Lausen, I think his name is. It was like by 11 months or something like that, or months. I don't know what it was. It's like I said before, I'm more of a, when it comes to UFC, I'm more of like an encyclopedia, like something you would find on a coffee table, like trivia facts about the UFC. Like my match was only like 20 seconds long, right? I was the first fight of the night. I was Big John McCarthy's first Let's Get It On. I was his, our match was his first time he ever ref. I was the youngest for a while. But other than that, I just never quit. I never stopped doing it, and I'm still doing it to this day. Like I just never stopped. I've been like a fly on the wall. I've been trained champions. I've never stopped training. I mean, I've been doing jujitsu since the day I lost in the UFC. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. But I mean, you can't get much younger than 18. I don't think you can compete at any younger age. So it's probably just you
No.
and then.
Yeah. And, for me, it's a benefit because, like, of all the original people from one and two, in that time frame, they're all pretty old. They're all banged up and busted up. And I mean, I'm banged up and busted up too, but they're really like their age on top of the injuries. I was relatively, about 10 years younger than everybody else. So I still got some longevity. I've got stories to tell. I've been around, um, after the UFC, like when I fought in the UFC, that was where I met Ken. He picked me up from there, me and Jason DeLucia. He offered us to go live with him at the Lions Den, or Lodi, the Lions Den, and actually where we lived was Lockford, California. But it was me, Jason, and Frank out there, and Scott Bessick was already out. Bezak was already out there, and so was Vernon White, and then another kid named Daniel Zuniga, probably a name you never heard, but he was a young boy for a while under Ken. I basically replaced him. And then when I left, Jerry Bolander replaced me.
Now, you said you went to live there, so let's talk about that. Did you have like a house, a big house where you all were living, or how'd that work?
It was his house. It was in a suburb kind of thing. The Shamrock House was across the street where Bob ran the boys' home. It was just like a regular cookie cutter house, like you find in like a residential development kind of thing. Yeah, the upstairs was kind of like a loft. That's where me and Frank shared that space together. Um, it would have been treated like as a family den kind of thing. Like if we weren't there, like where the family gets together and plays video games and crafts and whatnot. But we turned that into like where Frank and I lived. Jason had another. There was 3 bedrooms on the downstairs where Ken's 2 kids had one room. Jason DeLucia had another room, and then Frank and Tanya, or Frank and um, shit, or I mean Ken and Tina at the time had their own room. So it was just like a regular house, man. But and we lived like a weird family, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I would imagine it was probably kind of a bit of a wild setup to have, like, you're living with all these different characters.
Yeah, it was very strange. The mornings would start off, getting up early, and I'm the one who has to cook all the chicken and rice because I opted to be a young boy. Ken wanted me to be a young boy because it held more clout in Japan for my career, like because I was, the whole thing was pancreas, so it was the Japanese respected you more if you came up in the young boy tradition. So I did all the cooking and cleaning, and I was hazed, and I was treated like shit. It sucked, but I got tough from it. Doesn't matter. Not sure what I was going at, but what
When
was
you're
the question?
a young boy, just so people understand, people that are watching this probably don't know what you're talking about. But basically, like, for people that are watching this, in Japanese gyms, they have someone who has a role, or maybe more than one person who has like the young boy role, which is
Yeah,
for
it's
like
just a
cleaning
title.
the gym and maybe even doing laundry if they have laundry there, cleaning the mats, all that kind of stuff. So that's what he's
Yeah,
alluding.
that's exactly right. Yeah, yeah. And then, so my mornings would start off with me cooking, cleaning, getting everything ready, and then we'd all go to the gym and lift for about an hour, hour and a half, and then we would take a break, eat food, and then start. This was Monday. We would start our conditioning, and then with 500 squats, 500 push-ups, 500 sit-ups, 500s, the Carl Gotch Bible, all those kind of things. If anybody's interested, familiar with catch wrestling and Fujiwara Gumi system and things like that, that's what I was kind of brought up in. So we'd do our workouts and everything, and then hit another day. We'd go rest, eat some food, another workout in, usually just more like technique grappling and things like that. And then every night, by the end of every night, I'd have this grueling day. Me and Ken's wife would be playing rummy. Yeah, I'm just this 18-year-old kid. And it was like my only sense of normalcy. I went from, just being, a normal kid, doing martial arts into this thrown into the professional world of it. It was very militant, very there's martial artists and then there's martialists. It was very martialist. It was just simply cut and dry, straight shoot. This is just what we do. We were not even allowed to watch TV. The only thing we were allowed to watch was pancreas videos. That's it.
Did you have to get jumped in?
Jason DeLucia and I did not, because the whole reason for the jump in, the initiation was, which if anybody doesn't know what the initiation was then, it was a 20-minute fight with Ken, pancreas rules. And no matter what, you had to go 20 minutes. And Jason DeLucia and I, we didn't have to do that because we proved ourselves by fighting in the UFC, that we were willing to do this, and that, and I had been training for years. What that initiation was for the young punk coming in off the street saying, I want to be a fighter. I want to do this. So the easiest way to weed people out is to fucking initiate them. If they, and unfortunately, Frank had to do it. Frank had to get initiated. So he got picked up from Folsom, and he came back, and a couple days later, his initiation came. He came in, walking in with a giant Carl's Jr. burger in his hand, eating it. Fucking, this is minutes right before he's going to fight Ken for 20 minutes. And then first thing Ken does is just palm strikes him, breaks his fucking nose, bends him over, knees him in the fucking ribs, breaks his ribs, gets him down, chokes him out unconscious. He's dry heaving on the ground. He's like gupping on the ground, everything. Revive him. He goes straight to the bathroom, throws up that Carl's Jr. burger. The motherfucker walks right back out and finishes it. He's badass. The craziest son of a bitch, I'll tell you that, but the fucker has no quit in him. He's tough.
Scott Bazak said Ken came close to, like, I don't know if he's exaggerating, but said he almost killed Frank.
Oh, it was bad. Me and Jason were like looking at each other with our jaws on the floor. We're so glad we didn't have to fucking do that. Yeah. No, seriously, dude, I'm not no fucking tough guy. I never would want to have done that. I wouldn't have been able to do that. I wouldn't have. I didn't know shit.
Did you have to do any?
What's that?
Did you have to jump anybody else in?
Okay, so right when I was about to is when I had my neck, so me and Scott Bezak were, I was exhausted as hell. We were doing King of the Ring or whatever, where you had to stay down until I had to be in the middle on my back, and everybody comes in and gets on top of you for 2 minutes and pins you down. And the only way the person in the middle can get up is to reverse. I'm the smallest guy there. I didn't have any wrestling experience. Weakest, everything just sucked. And I had claustrophobia. My God, I was tortured. So I couldn't get anybody off. And then Scott was on me. And I was like, Jesus Christ, I'm 180 pounds and Scott's fucking over 250 or 230, whatever the fuck he was. And I bridge, I neck bridge, and I begin to roll, and I start to get him over. And then I kind of drop my shoulder, and, because you got to get, when you bridge someone, you want to bring your shoulders up into your neck and arch your back and everything. Well, my head got folded back under his weight. I was just so exhausted, And when I got up, Jason DeLucia said I looked like a hooded cobra. My neck was all ganked and in a weird way. They took me straight to a chiropractor, and he started working on me and put my shit back into place. And he was like, "Yeah, you're fucking done, dude. Go back to Ohio and heal up. And when you're ready to come back, you can come back," kind of thing. But I was out there for a few months before that happened. But right when I was when some new guy was about to come in, Ken wanted me to do the initiation. I was kind of excited and nervous, but I knew at that point I could handle it and I could do it, and I wasn't going to embarrass Ken or nothing. So, because that would be terrible, initiating someone and you're the one that ends up getting your ass. Could you imagine?
Well, I remember Scott at I think it was Trey Teligman and Guy Mesker where it said it was kind of close, where the initiation was actually pretty competitive.
Whose was close?
I think he said it was Trey Teligman and Guy Mesker.
Oh, okay. You mean like for him to do it?
Yeah, guy was the one getting jumped in, and it was apparently pretty close as far as
Yeah.
it
Now
goes.
I watched Scott jump in a guy from I think he was from Bakersfield. The guy didn't make it. Scott was sadistic. He like putting pain on people. He's good at it.
I mean, that's kind of what you had alluded to when we talked, was that this environment kind of breeded you know, like sociopath.
Yeah, it's dangerous people. Yeah, I mean, I have no doubt in my mind that Scott or Ken or Frank or any of these people are sociopaths or psychopaths or something. There's just this like there's those people who kind of like know to let up. Like these are the kind of people who will take you to the death. Like they want to kill somebody at some point in their life. you know, I want to too, but it's just got to be it's got to be a really really bad guy like child molesters and shit. That's what I want to kill. I don't want to just kill for the sake of killing. I would have to have a purpose behind it.
Yeah, why do you think it? Why do you think it bred guys like that environment?
Well, I don't know if it breeds them. It's just that it attracts them.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? It doesn't create them. It just attracts them. Now, I'm sure like it can embolden people who are kind of like predisposed to that kind of thing, and they get in this kind of scene, and it's like, yeah, that's really what I want. And it kind of emboldens what some shitheads out there. But I don't know. But if it's a good vent for people like that too, so that they don't go out and actually wreak havoc on society and stuff like that. So, you know,
But it's a thing a
as
lot of people don't necessarily talk about, right? Usually people say the martial arts does X, Y, Z. They don't really talk about, like you're saying, where it attracts kind of people that are a little bit psychotic.
yeah, I mean, pretty much anything with competition does that. It creates, it takes egotists, and seriously, I mean, like, all the champions I've really ever met, they've kind of been narcissistic. They've kind of been, like even for me, like when I was competing at the time, like and really going for things, I acted in a very narcissistic way. I was very diva-like, and you have to be real selfish. It's a lot like people who are into bodybuilding, right? And like people who are cutting and have to do diets and prepare, and they really get into this, and they talk about how it's really hard to have relationships because they're just so into it. You know what I mean? Like they can't fuck around. There's so much discipline. You have to just fucking do it 100%, and or otherwise you're not really going to be great at it. So it takes a certain kind of person. Like it takes like somebody who's got a big ego and who wants to fan their ego to kind of that really takes off in these things, because that's what this is all about. You're like, it's all about lauding accomplishments and shit. But it's when it gets to people's heads that, and I'm not saying all people are egotists that compete and shit like that, but I'm just saying that that's why it draws that kind of person. That's, and I guess it can breed it after a while. I mean, there might be somebody who has like zero ego and they found this thing, and kind of like in my situation, like I didn't have an ego, right? I was bullied and beat up, and I didn't like myself. I hated myself. I couldn't stand who I was. So I started martial arts. I got good at it. It was like, holy shit, I'm good at it. People like me. I'm getting positive feedback. I'm getting all these things. And you see what I mean? It builds up. I made it. I won everything I did. I got to the UFC, didn't win that, but hey, I did. Fuck yeah, I get to say I'm the first Ohioan to fight in the UFC. You know what I mean? Because I'm just out there, and I took every opportunity. I jumped at everything. And then when I got married and shit, that's when things kind of like slowed. Like my ego started shrinking a little bit. My dog's barking, so my ego started shrinking a bit, because now I have to take care of others. There's more than just me in this life, things like that. And that pulled me away from it like that. So instead of like really going hard with competing and things like that, I gave into my family and I focused on that, but I remained an instructor. I just remained teaching, and I competed here and there, got injured here and there. I'm like 20 surgeries later. I'm talking to you now. I've got four spinal operations alone.
How hard was it for you? Because you said you got injured training with Scott Bazak. You leave the Lions Den to go back to Ohio or whatever. How hard was it for you to go back there? You're in this super ultra competitive, crazy environment. Now you got to go back. How hard?
Yeah, I left Mount Olympus and went back among the mortals kind of feeling, you know. But my friends were cool, you know. They were like judgmental or nothing like that, or nobody. I didn't have anybody that was like that I would feel ashamed about anything, and there was nothing to be ashamed about anyways. It was just how it was. But it definitely didn't work out how I planned. You know, I planned on having a career in pancreas and all those kind of things, and traveling the world and doing all those things. But you know, I've kept in touch with Jason DeLucia of all the people. He was always like my mentor. He kind of took me under his wing there, and he told me, he goes, the greatest thing that ever happened to me was that neck injury. He said that place probably would have killed me. It was
Yeah,
just how crazy it was and how it got.
I am not talking about from a point of not accomplishing what you want to do. I'm saying you're in this, you're in the Lions Den, this wild
Yeah, well, for me, it was this going 1,000 miles an hour to
back,
like nothing.
yeah.
Yeah, that was my first real like. Okay, so that was my first. That happened to me like 100 times more in life. Like, that's kind of been my theme. Like, I'm going 100 miles an hour. I'm fucking doing all this shit and doing all these amazing things, rubbing shoulders with these amazing athletes, and I'm a professional athlete myself, and I'm a world class. You know, all these kind of things. And then all of a sudden, an injury happens, and nothing. It's psychological. That's the hardest part. Is the psychology of it, of going from this capable being to this a lesser, just going to a lesser than from what you want, and finding a new normal. I bounced back from everything I did, except for these past few back surgeries. I couldn't quite bounce back completely, but I could still teach. But that was very hard to deal with, you know. But what took place, like in my personal life, like religion came in. I became a Mormon, you know, got ready to serve a mission, you know, stuff like that. Like my friends joined the church. Then fast forward to 2016, I leave the church, you know, it doesn't matter. But my point is, it kept my mind, like it was something to focus my mind on. I joined the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, prepared for a mission, went to Las Vegas on my mission, met my wife on my future wife on my mission, you know, came home, got married, you know, started a family, joined the military, kept teaching, had a school in Okinawa. You know what I mean? And I've got just one of my students has like one of the biggest and best schools in Japan. You know, it's so cool. I mean, like I've been around, dude, but because I didn't like, it's not because I didn't want to. It's not because I didn't want to become a champion. It's not because my ego didn't want to do those things. My body never allowed me because I just had surgery after surgery. I've had 6 shoulder surgeries alone, 4 spinal alone. My neck is fused from C6 to T1. My L4 to L5. Both my shoulders been rebuilt 3 times. 3 knee surgeries. Abdomen's Kevlar mesh. You know, then a bunch of other small surgeries. My sinuses have been reconstructed so I can go to dive school in the military. You know, I mean, all kinds of crazy shit. You know, I joined the military September 12th, 2001. Swore in, I mean. Went into active duty 2002, January 8th of 2002. Went in through combat control the first time, tore my shoulder out again, then healed up, and then went back through pararescue twice, tore my other shoulder out and both my ankles, and I got washed out. I still had an invite back. But, you know, like I said, and again, in that situation, the military, I was doing high speed shit, right? You know, I was in, like, if people don't know what pararescue is for the Air Force, it'd be like Navy SEALs for the Navy. You know, like their buds training, that stuff out in the ocean, you get drowned and shit like that. Same thing for the pararescue guys. So I was doing all that water con stuff, you know, buddy breathing and underwaters, you know, learning about Wim Hof techniques before Wim Hof was even popular, you know what I mean? And then going from that high speed kind of mentality and physical pace to getting like 8 surgeries in a fucking row. Yeah. There was a point there the military had me on 8 different medications, at once. It was a cocktail. Half that cocktail killed Heath Ledger.
When you're starting over a new normal, that's something a lot of people struggle, especially people in the militaries, How did you do it? I mean, I think it's something interesting to talk about because it's something a lot of people struggle with, especially military guys that are going from like 100 to zero, 100 miles an hour to zero or whatever. How did you do it?
Yeah, it's the hardest part's the acceptance part of things. Like, I kept fighting and fighting and fighting. I mean, like if you were watching me, if I was watching myself in the third person, I'd be like, would this guy just fucking give it up already? He's just going to continually disappoint himself. You know what I mean? Like it just kept going and going and chasing after martial arts. Like when I got out of the military, I was already like 12 surgeries deep. And when I got medically retired, I tried doing one more run, and then I ended up having to get my which ended up exposing just how bad my neck was, and I ended up having to get that fused. So I was like, fuck. So I called Ken because he had his neck fused when he was 18. I just told him, I asked for his advice, and he gave me some advice of just being real uh, aggressive with the protocol for rehab and things like that. And just push myself, it was just basic advice and stuff, but it was just the faster I could accept that I was never going to fight again. I was able to move on with other things that were more beneficial. Like I really focused on coaching and teaching and just developing new moves. I went ahead and just buckled, because I said I would never get my Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt because I was always Team Shamrock, right? Back then it was Shamrock and Gracie, and I was always just a loyal guy, blind loyalty, like did something for me, I'm always have your back kind of thing. So like for forever, I was just, I'm never going to go and get ranked in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I mean, I know Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I train it all the time. All my friends, BJJ, everybody I train with is BJJ. What I do is BJJ. I mean, fuck. So, and all my students who were getting their black belts, in BJJ were like, Coach, you've got to fucking go get ranked, man. So I went under Carlos Catania, and he started me at brown belt. I mean, he wanted to give me my black, but you just can't, right? You just can't. You just don't start that way. No matter, like, I could have been technically, I was probably a black belt in like 2010, 2012 time frame. At my actual skill set, my knowledge, everything going on. But I technically I didn't get it till 2018. Yeah. So, like I said, I've been doing this forever, and I'm not full of shit. It's just simply, I just didn't care, and I just didn't want it. I wasn't a belt chaser in any way, shape, or form. And for me, it was just like, I'm going to go my whole life without ever getting ranked in BJJ.
But I think that's getting more popular now, with a lot of the guys out there doing more no-gi from the jump, from the start.
Yeah.
But I think it's more of an acceptance thing, and that it's harder to coach without it, perhaps. But with the popularity of no-gi grappling, I mean, I think no-gi grappling is much more popular. It has more viewership than the gi does, So I think there's going to be more guys like that in the future, and Eddie Bravo guys and all.
Yeah, it's more exciting to watch for the spectator who doesn't really know how this like what jiu-jitsu is, you know what I mean? The gi, like people who like to watch the gi are jiu-jitsu guys, like are jiu-jitsu guys. The people who like to watch no-gi are jiu-jitsu guys and civilians, like people who don't do it. You know what I mean? It's like gi watching is for like people who drink with pinkies up. They're a little more sophisticated.
Yeah. I mean, but when you started doing it, do you feel like it's something you enjoy it or no?
Oh yeah, I mean, everything about it I loved. I mean, it wasn't until I met John Saylor. It was that was 1997, right? Which was the same year I got married. I he helped me really overcome my claustrophobia because he was claustrophobic. But John Saylor, he used to be the head coach at the Olympic Training Center in Colorado Springs for judo. He would have made the Olympics had he not severed his brachial nerve plexus uh, in a tournament where he went to throw a guy, or he got thrown and hit in his shoulder, and his left arm became paralyzed. So he left competition and just went straight into coaching. And I met him in '97. I started training with him, and I became a black belt under him in judo. So, and his judo is old school 1950s, 60s, like where you can't tell the difference between that and Gracie Jiu-Jitsu kind of thing. As a matter of fact, Horion and him grappled to a draw like twice, two or three times at the Olympic Training Center when Gracies were going around doing the Gracie in action footage, where they were doing like going into dojos and making challenges and stuff and videotaping it. But his video never made it to the thing because he didn't tap. You know what I mean? I mean, he didn't tap Horion either. But a guy with a paralyzed shoulder, you know, wrestled Horion to a draw 2 times. You know, that never made it. But anyways, I began training under him, and like he really helped me by helping me. He taught me how to get out things. Like the lines then was more about just osmosis. It was like learning through osmosis. Just get the shit kicked out of you and learn the lesson. This was a shit get kicked out of you plus a lecture on top of it. Right? So it was like all the knowledge of like how you would think of like Louis Simmons and Westside Barbell for powerlifting is John Saylor for jiu-jitsu and judo, and how to accomplish a great fighter. I mean, like what I got from him wasn't just technique. It was how to be a coach and how to be an instructor and how to run a tight ship and all the components. Like, for example, he developed this thing called Shin Gitai Jiu-Jitsu, which Shin means mind, you know, mind, heart. That's the first and foremost. It's got to be strong and resilient. You know, you have to have good sports psychology, good personal psychology. You know, Gi is technique and skill. You have to have sound skill and sound technique. And Tai is the body. You have to have a healthy body. It has to have good conditioning, good cardio, good flexibility, all those things. And all those 3 components are necessary for a complete fighter or a complete martial artist, or just a complete human, really. You know, those are 3 things that you can check on yourself on a daily to find out like which one's lacking. You know, it's like a quick self-inventory if you break it down to those 3 components. Mind, what's your knowledge, like your psychology, your knowledge, and your physical well-being. You know, those 3 things are important. So like in jiu-jitsu, those are all the things that are any kind of fighting art. Those are the 3 things that you need to focus on to be a complete competitor or whatever you are, you know, athlete.
Now, how long have you been at Strong Style?
Since 2011.
How'd you end up there?
So when I got out of the military, I was looking for places to train. I went with John, tried doing my own thing there, but he lived out in the middle of nowhere, like in a barn, literally. He converted a barn into a home. So it was just hard to get people out there. So then I started training with an old training partner that was there at his place. And then that just kind of turned into nothing. And then it was a weird thing. One of my brothers worked with a guy in this area named John, worked with, how do I say this? Okay, so there's a guy around here named John Lennon. He's a wealthy man, and he loves MMA, and he started backing it. He started helping the NAAFS promotions out here. Greg Kalikas and them. He started kind of backing them, and he gave financial support to Strong Style and stuff like that. Well, anyways, one of his sons worked with one of my brothers, and his son was like head of everybody in the office, and they were all like watching this UFC thing or some event. And my brother walked up and he goes, "Hey, my little brother fought in the second one of those, you know, kind of things." He's like, "No shit, my dad would love to meet him." So just through word of mouth, you know, kind of thing, is set up this meeting between me and John. And I went and met him at one of the shows, and I sat down with him ringside, and he basically just got to know each other. And he's like, "Hey, I think you belong at Strong Style. I think you should go there because that's where I was actually going to, I was training to do one more fight. So he introduced me to Marcus Marinelli, and then actually Victor Ventresca, like he introduced me to Victor Ventresca, and then Victor Ventresca introduced me to Marcus Marinelli, and went out there and uh, sparred one night with everything. Marcus was like, "Yeah, man, fuck, you're a ready-made dude. Shit, let's have you on team. Welcome aboard," kind of thing. But I was on team, sparring, training for about 6 months, and then my left arm went paralyzed, and we had to get my fucking neck fixed. And then later on in 2012, I woke up. I was living at the gym because I was driving from Cleveland. I lived an hour away, commuting all the time, so I would spend different nights at the gym. One morning, I woke up to open up the gym, and my left leg was paralyzed. So that was the fusion of my L4, L5. So within like a year of the first fusion, I had to get the other one. So I went from, all right, I'm in this perfect spot. I'm at Strong Style. All these great fighters around me. I'm gonna make it. And then that was the final. That was the final. Fuck you. You're not going anywhere, son. Get used to being a coach. Get used to being a teacher. That's your fucking lesson in life. That's who you are. And if I would have just learned that in my 20s, I would have had less surgeries.
I mean,
But my ego wanted to be the hero. My ego wanted to be the champion. My ego wanted to be all these great things, but my ego is what landed me in the fucking hospital every goddamn time.
but it's not necessarily a bad thing because, you can help other people accomplish. There's a lot of gratification in that.
Yeah, that makes it better. But the constant pain that I live in and the bullet that I want to eat every day, I'm not kidding. I do have suicidal ideations. The pain does ride that high. But I have a mantra that I adopted around 2015, and it's not that I don't want to live. It's just I don't want to live this way, and I have the power to change that. There's always something that I can do to make it different or better or more appealing. But to say that, by the way, I mentioned I had all those 8 different medications. I got off of all those things, through medical marijuana and keeping myself active with college and learning new things and doing things and keeping the plasticity of my brain active, just constantly doing something. The last few years have kind of sucked with COVID. It kind of it's turned me into a hermit, but trying to get out of that.
Well, let me ask this. Because it is kind of a fight podcast of things that I do, but was Stipe Miocic, was he already there? A lot of people watch the UFC. Was he already there when you were there?
Yeah. Him and Jessica were already there, and then before that, we had all right, my brain's Forrest Petz. He was a UFC vet. Jeff Cox, another UFC vet. Brian Rogers, he was a Bellator fighter. One of the original guys he had a nasty knee. Oh man. Who else was Johnny Soder, another original dude. Stipe was there, and one thing I told him, because he's just always this quiet, super nice guy, nice to everybody. He is that fucking fireman. He's just a good fucking dude. He's got like a happy-go-lucky jock. You know what I mean? I didn't really like jocks in high school, but I like Stipe. But he's just so kind, and he was just always so nice. And I told him, I go, listen to me. I go, it's not if you get in the UFC, it's when you become the UFC champion. I don't want you don't fucking change. Always be this fucking guy. Right. So in 2013, I left Strong Style and I went to college full time. And I forget when his first fight was with the UFC. Some time went by, a couple of years went by before I saw him again. And we were sitting out talking, and I was observing him for a few days, and he hadn't changed. And I go, hey, man, do you remember that conversation we had a few years ago? And I was telling him where it was, right there by the front desk, and piece of advice I gave him about not changing. He said, yeah. And I go, hey, man, I'm happy to report that you didn't change, man. I'm glad you took my advice and, but yeah, he doesn't let that shit get to his head. I mean, he might let it a little, there's things that I don't see. I'm not trying to be like, blinded by love or whatever. I mean, Stipe is just a human. I don't give a fuck if he's the UFC champ or not. I don't care. He's just a nice guy. He's like all these people that like a lot of people like fawn over and stuff. Some of these guys are my friends. These are people that they're gonna be my friend whether they're the champ or not, and I don't give a fuck.
Do you think he's going to fight John Jones?
Oh, I have no clue. I have no clue. I actually, I didn't like leave strong style, but I stopped teaching. I had to take some time for my health and things like that over the past year. So I haven't been there over the past year. I'm still kind of sort of in the loop a little bit. But as far as the gossip, I never really was in the loop. I would hear something here and there, but I'm not really, to be honest, I'm not a fan of MMA at all. I don't even know who the current fighters are.
I mean,
Like
John.
if we talked about MMA and NHB from the 90s and early 2000s, I got you. But
Okay.
like,
Well, let me ask you this. You were around Frank. To me, Frank is one of the, he should be in the UFC Hall of Fame. I mean, we know that.
absolutely.
But, you've been around Stipe. He's champion. Frank, one of the all-time greats. I guess you could say Stipe is too. What do you think? I mean, they're different people probably.
One was a pioneer and the other one's who's carrying the torch.
Do you think?
But what's your initial question?
Why do you think they were successful? These two very different guys.
Well, Frank had this just never quit fucking like positivity after getting out of prison. Like he just he was like doing like what people do, like law of attraction kind of thing. It was almost like that. He was just like, I'm here and I'm just gonna do it and I'm gonna make it and nothing's gonna stop me kind of thing. And and the difference between I'll tell you what really is the difference. What really made him good and what made him great was when he left Ken, because Ken was a businessman. Like he learned what he had to learn. Like he learned the core of grappling, submission grappling, catch wrestling, things like that. And he left it at that. Frank thought bigger and deeper. Like, for example, Ken had us doing archaic like conditioning exercises that really wasn't that great. I mean, we were overtraining. Our diet was, he had us on a diet that was a bodybuilder's diet. Chicken and rice, chicken and noodles, no fats whatsoever. Green vegetables, that kind of shit, no flavoring. It was very bland. And we had no fat on us whatsoever. So injuries were, joint injuries were big time and things like that. And, it was Frank who started figuring things out. Like he was kind of like the future thinker, the forward thinking person. And Ken was like, no, we're just going to be this way, and from the way I understand things went down, Ken was just doing his WWE thing. He just threw all the responsibility on Frank, and Frank was like, screw this, I got my own career to worry about. And at some point he was like, okay, I'm done being second fiddle. I'm going to really explore who I am. And he broke off on his own. And as he did that, everything about Frank got even better. Like his submissions got his submission repertoire got higher, like his endurance and his conditioning went through the roof. I mean, he's the first like true prototype of a fucking good mixed martial artist in my opinion. Like Marco Huas is another one. Mm-hmm. But what Frank is a Marco Huas 2.0 because Frank brought in like technology and he further educated. He's a smart motherfucker, man. He might be a dickhead. He might bush league me. Like, dude, I used to live with him. Shit like that. I'll try to call him or make contact with him. He fucking bush leagues me. Like, it's like, all right, whatever. Fucking, I don't get it, why anyone would be that way. There's like, to me, the Lions Den was a traumatic experience and he was part of my trauma, So, it's a weird. I have weird like people. What people think about people and people love people. I had a post on my wall once, something about like about meeting your idol. You're gonna be disappointed. Lots of people I ever looked up to, and I got to know them. They're not the best humans. Great athletes. I mean, like in the BJJ world, you got all these fucking people that are pedophiles, grooming children. Hell, I was groomed by my instructor at age 14, 15. The fucker tried grooming me to to think that having sex with him would be good and cool and shit like that. It was a long, drawn out psychological bullshit. Um, I was never penetrated. The shit didn't happen, but I was groomed, and each fucker tried. But I still stuck with him. Because that was the only martial arts. You know what I mean? It was if I had to quit, if I would have quit right then and there, I never would be where I'm at right now. But I still had some sense of I said no, kind of thing. I didn't let him go far enough, but I definitely there was lines crossed that I'm never going to be comfortable with. Um, that I had to question my sexuality, because I'm just a confused, dumb little kid. I mean, it's not like it fucked me up, man. And I can only imagine what happens to a fucking girl or a boy, even, where physical things happen, like where the actual deed takes place hardcore, and it just boggles my mind. I just want to kill these fuckers bad. Like I will fucking like if I knew that shit was gonna hit the fan and we were destined for nuclear war or some fucking crazy shit, I'd fucking go on a fucking killing spree probably.
We might be desperate at the way things are going. I'm just kidding. I don't think it's going to get that bad. But
No, I don't fucking know, man. Like
wait,
humans are fucking crazy and stupid.
you never know these days.
But yeah, so I have a special place in my heart for these fucks. And any of these motherfuckers who like have friends that they're fucking like, oh, it was just a mistake, and no, the bro code, fucking protecting each other in this shit. Fuck that. Fuck you. Just stay the fuck away from me. I'm so sick of it. I'm seeing it all the time now, especially like this fight sports and cyborg protecting people and fucking Wagner Roca and all these fucks. Like they didn't do anything, but they've got fighters that they're fucking like help flee to fucking Brazil and escape fucking prosecution here in the U.S. Fuck these fuckers, man. It's insane. And it's happening everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, I saw that story. I'm wondering, like, for them, they probably brought the guy to the U.S., I would think. I don't know, but they probably did bring him. So,
dude, this is probably the thousandth time that it happened. What's that?
No, what I'm saying is they probably brought him here to begin with, I would think. So I'm wondering if they thought it was in their best interest to hide him and then get him out to protect themselves, Yeah. Yeah. So.
But when they say it's because they're Christians and they have to love their brother and forgive and la la da 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 da, shut the fuck up.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't know a lot about such because I'm not training and stuff anymore. But I had heard about it. I had looked at it, and kind of looked at what some of the people that were involved had said. But in a way, I think, like you're saying, where like us Americans, we aren't bringing anybody here. You know what I mean? It's just
right.
Jiu-Jitsu. A lot of the Brazilians and other people bring people in, and I think part of it is maybe they feel an obligation to the person, but they also protect themselves. As to where we aren't bringing people into this country, and so it's not something that we necessarily have to worry about. For us, at least, because I didn't bring this person and this person and that person. So I don't have to worry about what they're doing. You know what I mean? It's not going to
Yeah, they're responsible for bringing them in. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I mean? So in that
there's a lot
of coaches, like, if I was a coach, I didn't bring nobody here to this country. If I screw something up, I have to worry, but I don't have to worry about these guys over here doing something stupid. I can just say, we're done with them, But them, they helped bring them there, so now they're stuck.
And the problem is them doubling down on it. Like, like really doubling down on their
Mhm.
cognitive dissonance with it all. It's like, oh man,
Right. So they're
sorry,
kind of
man.
attached to the hip. You know, if this person does something, you're attached to the hip with this person now. You know,
And usually when somebody's defending another, they're guilty of those same things anyway. So
because I think in older times of our country, they probably would have said, "You're both out of here, both of y'all." You brought him in, and you too, you're gone. But
yeah, who knows?
yeah, but and then nothing really came of it after that, right? I mean, it's kind of all died down.
But that's the thing about any
It
kind
was
of
a big
sexual abuse
story, and
in
now
the
it's like,
country. Even in this country, dude, just sexual abuse. Period, man. That shit gets swept under the rug. I see people fucking. Oh, This is just a little blip on his little light. What he did, and dun dun dun. Like that Brock fucking Turner. That Brock Turner is a fucking classic example of this fucking thing. Think about it, dude. It's a fucking system ran by dudes
I
who's
don't
gonna
know
protect dudes. You gotta it is what it is.
who is Brock Turner. I don't even know who the person is.
That Brock, dude, that college dude who fucking when these guys came upon him, they like vomited and shit because of what he was doing to this girl. Like the
Oh,
rape was so bad, and the judge was like, "This is just like a small thing in his life. I don't want to ruin his life over this. He's got
oh,
a promising life ahead of him."
yeah.
It was. I think that's the name. It's Brock something or whatever, but it was a sick fucking thing. But it's a great microcosm of how it usually goes in this country.
But why do you think the situation with fight sport died down? Because there's a lot of talk of it on this app, especially, and that I don't know.
Oh, because nobody gives a fuck. People virtue signal, they chirp, and everything happens. But look at dude. Don't we have Ghislaine, whatever her name is, Maxwell, in fucking prison still? But like, what's happening with that? Who are all the fucking big people? Who are all the politicians that on both sides of the fence that were involved? Who are all these high up people in other countries who are involved? Why don't we know? Because they're all protecting each other. It's the fucking buddy system. It's the brother system. The bro code. Fucking everybody protects each other. That's how it fucking works. That's why these fucking rapists don't get fucking put in jail. That's why the child molesters don't go put in jail. That's fucking, why fucking politicians don't go to jail. They're all looking out for each other because it's a fucking way of life. It's a fucking system. It's disgusting. If there was an Illuminati, that's it. You know?
But I'm wondering, were the who the two factions were that were arguing? You had kind of the ADCC, Mo Jassim, Gordon Ryan, and then you had fight sports. So I'm wondering why they all disappeared. What happened? Did they get together and say, all right, we're going to stop arguing? You know what I mean? Why
Maybe
did
it just stopped mattering. Yeah, I don't know. I know Missy Estrada, she's keep fighting. She's still fighting. Like she keeps gathering information and posting stuff on the next perpetrator. Revealing people left and right. It's like it's not. It's just still going. I just found out something about somebody I know about in New Jersey. Fucking pedophile case for fucking raping his own stepdaughter. It's like, what the fuck? This guy's gone now. It's like, whoa.
But I'm wondering
Yeah.
if they got together in private and said, okay, we're not going to, or someone threatened to sue the other. I'm curious because it all,
I don't know.
you know, and Mo and
That's what people in the community are talking about. You'll see people. Hey, whatever happened to?
yeah,
Whatever happened to? Well, I think people's attention span is short.
right.
Think about it. I think let's do it this way. Look at the attention span of like the left and the right. Okay, so back around the time of the fucking right around the time COVID, right before COVID kicked off, they were talking about abortion stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the left was my body, my rights, blah blah blah, right?
Right.
Right. And then the vaccine mandate happened, and the right was like, well, remember when you were saying my body, my right? Well, my body, my right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now we're back. into here, my body, my right. Well, weren't you just saying your body, your right with the vaccine?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, guys,
Mm-hmm.
fuck. Why does everything have to be black and white canned axioms in the fucking, like, in the societal reality? It's not black and white. It's not how things work. Am I for, like, I'm pretty weird with my views. I'm pro-choice, but this is why I'm pro-choice. I'm pro-choice because I don't want it to be, like, I wouldn't want abortion to be a form of birth control. Like, I'm just going to go fuck, be irresponsible and go, but that's usually not how it fucking works. Okay. That's like what people think it is. They think they're using abortion as a fucking form of birth control. Shut the fuck up. Women don't want to do it. It's a whole psychological thing. It's so much harder than that. The reason why abortion has to be legal is because if a woman gets raped, she should not have to carry that child to term. Psychological reasons, physical reasons, and also why in the fuck would you want the genes of a fucking rapist to come and be in this world? I have this theory, if you're dumb or violent or whatever and you hurt this world, you should all be dead and you shouldn't be allowed to procreate or at least get fixed so your semen or your DNA doesn't continue among the people, But fuck, what was I saying? I always do this shit.
No, you're just talking about, kind of abortion and.
Oh yeah, yeah. So in like okay, like in like a tubal pregnancy, like if it's going to kill the mother and things like that, there's got to be these things, these reasons. Yes, I am not for abortion. Okay, I'm not for abortion. I am not for killing, infants and fetuses or whatever the fuck these things are. Okay, what I am for is a healthy life and healthy psychology and healthy mentality for the woman. And I am not a woman. I don't have a uterus. I don't know any of these things, and I don't think I should be anybody who should be making these fucking rules and laws.
Mm-hmm.
Bottom line. And I think religion should be left out of it completely. I don't give a fuck what your God says about a womb or what is in there. Not all of us work that way. Not all of us believe in that shit. Okay. And it is an imaginary being. We talk about, all these like mental health issues in life, imaginary friends, imaginary things are a mental health issue, just like, anything else. So, it should not be in something that is societal. Those are personal beliefs. Those are personal things. If you don't want an abortion, don't get one. If you don't believe there should be abortions, don't get one. Teach your children not to do it. Teach your friends not to, whatever, but don't make it a blanket for everyone else because of a faith-based decision. You just can't do that. And that's where this is fucking coming from. And a lot of things when it comes to these politics, there's a whole reason why our forefathers, the founding fathers did not make it a Christian nation. It specifically says it's not. But it's not meant to be. It's meant to be for everyone. Everyone can believe that there's a higher power or whatever and go kind of drab with that as far as the whole community is concerned. But when you go into dogmatic approaches to things, that's only for you, not for the public. Because Christianity will become like Islam. If this keeps going the way it is, Christianity will become like Islam, and you're going to have your fucking radical Christians, and you're going to have all this kind of shit. And you're going to end up having holy wars. You see these memes with like these, blue jean and white shirt, they're trying to portray a conservative family with all their guns, and this and that. And it's a Christian family with a cross and, behind, but what's the difference between this and then you got your obvious Muslims family with their AK-47s. There's no difference is AK-47s and AR-15s. They're both crazy as fuck, to mix the two, you don't mix violence with religion. That's where it really goes wrong. I mean, Constantine fucked that up, around 300 AD?
Yeah, I think there's always been some associated with different religions, some violence,
But not in the doctrines, really. It's always what it comes down to is when the religion becomes political. And maybe back then way back, you know, politics and religion were one, you know, and it had to be that way because of tribalism. Who knows? But we're not traveling nomads. We're not in this, because it really is. I mean, if you look at it, it was the way of living, like of the Old Testament, was very militant. It reminds me of a military, like, you can't fuck up, because if you fuck up, you're going to kill someone or yourself.
Right.
You got to have God. You have to have this spooky being to tell them, hey, you can't do this. You can't just listen to this human that's giving you good fucking advice. You know, don't eat fucking pork because it's got you'll get trichinosis and worms and shit like that. We're out in the desert. We're not always going to have good fire to cook this shit.
Uh,
Well, why should I believe you? Well, God said so, dummy. Oh shit! Oh, you know, now I understand. Now I'm gonna get all right. I ain't gonna eat that pork. You know, and then they're so dumb they just keep it. They don't even know why they ever had it in the first place because it's tradition. You know, fuck off.
I used to live in South
Yeah.
and we'd have to drive like, I don't know, to the out in the middle of nowhere to get bacon somewhere. You know what I mean? You could purchase it, but not. You'd have to go to like certain spots, you know, because you couldn't
Yeah.
fit within the certain limits of this particular
Yeah.
city. Yeah, but they did accommodate Americans. It's just that they made it inconvenient, you know.
Yeah. Very
I don't
inconvenient.
know how it is there now, but when I lived there for a while in the '80s, my dad was an oil worker, so yeah, I kind of remember that kind of stuff, you know.
So you got out of there just in time before Desert Storm.
We left in '88. My brother finished ninth grade. They didn't have any schooling left for him. He was going to have to go to boarding school, which my parents weren't too thrilled about. You know, they didn't want that. They want to let him go at that age, you know. I was in sixth grade, so they said we're leaving. Yeah.
Yeah, I was ninth grade with the Gulf War.
Huh?
I was ninth grade during the Gulf War.
Yeah. It was an interesting place to live. I mean, I lived there for almost 8 years, so it was interesting to.
Now, how's that shaped you as a U.S. citizen? How does that play on your like?
I don't know. I've lived outside the U.S. for a long time because I lived in Saudi Arabia for about 8 years. I lived on Oahu, which is it's not like the U.S. honestly. I lived there 14 years. I lived in Japan 3 years. You know, half of my life, I'd say, you know, has been elsewhere. Yeah, I mean, you see things you don't like about the U.S. When I lived in Japan. You know, it's like, you know, the people, the society is so, you know, for the most part,
Safe.
right, safe. Yeah, and then you come back to the U.S. and you're just like, you know.
Dude, I remember the first time I came back to the U.S. It was like 2 years. I was on island for 2 years in Okinawa, and I came back to the U.S. and I was on edge. Felt so scared and unsafe. It was weird, man. Like
Yeah,
I just didn't have. My guard went up. Like I felt like I had this guard that had to go up. Like in Japan, you wave and smile at anybody, they wave and smile back no matter what. You know, like they'll converse with you, say something, and when I came back to the States, man, just like making eye contact with anybody was just like this fucking like, oh shit. I mean, I got nervous walking around in a mall. I was like,
yeah,
weird. But I mean, but going in other countries too, I also, you know, there was things that made me appreciate things about America. But I was very, mind you, before I went into other countries, I was a Mormon, like highly conservative, right wing Republican. You know, our way is the right way. We're going to make the whole world Christian. I mean, I was like, like what Captain Peacemaker? Where the fucking Peacemaker? You know, with John Cena.
yeah,
I was a lot like that, dude. You know, so but it wasn't until I was in the military that I started going to other countries and like, holy shit, my heart got just like I just started changing. Like, just something happened. Like my nationalism just melted away.
hmm
You know, and like I became a world citizen, not just a U.S. citizen. It was like I'm a citizen of this whole fucking world. I get what Socrates is saying now. You know, I'm a world citizen. And I love this whole fucking world. I don't think America's the best. I don't think our people are the best people, or the worst people either. Um, I don't. It's not a worst place or a best place scenario kind of thing. I've had this contrast where I get to see that. Oh, I like this about America, but I don't like this about America. I like this idea better. I wish I could take these parts and make a hybrid and like fix the things that I see wrong if we just adopted these parts of other ways of thinking. And that's what made Rome so great. When they
Mm.
conquered places, they didn't destroy everything. They brought it in. They brought their culture into theirs. They learned their sciences. They learned their arts. They learned all these things. And Rome was not homogenous. Rome was conglomerate as fuck, dude. They conquered everything and they absorbed all the knowledge, not just the gold and the land, but the knowledge of all these different people. And that was the secret. And anybody who has this idea that we need to just pull away from everything else and just be among ourselves and like-minded people, man, that's terrible. Martial art. Think about martial arts if that happened. Imagine if UFC never happened. Imagine if Rorion Gracie, his fucking brilliant mind with Art Davies' brilliant mind, that never happened. We would never see like mixed martial arts. What is it? It's a melting pot of martial arts. It's it's beautiful. It's a good metaphor of how we should just be as humans. There's so much to fucking learn. We don't have to travel countries. We can just go fucking talk to our neighbors. Go talk to people. If anybody ever gives you like when you first look at them and it gives you like a fucking like a fight or flight kind of feeling, go talk to that person. Go talk to or that kind of person. If it gives you like a feeling, or whatever, like those are things you have to find within yourselves. Those are things you have to challenge within yourselves. Um, that's as I've done that in my life, as I've touched the idol, the thing that spooks me, uh, and I take the power away from it, and I see the humanity of it all. It's so beautiful, you know.
Yeah.
Becoming friends with people I never thought I would, or types of people, or kinds of people, or walks of life. You know, as I reach out more, I become more.
Now, as we're kind of winding down the interview, I like to let people, if people are watching this, maybe a thought you'd like to leave them with, whether it be related to fighting or life or your experiences, recovering from injuries, whatever.
Um, Can we get a little more specific? I have like an ocean up here.
Oh, no, maybe something. If what would be like the most important message you think?
One of them is like, it's a fucking cliche. It's but we'll unpack of it is like, don't take yourself too seriously, man. You know, it's like especially like when it comes to martial arts and goals. Like within goals, you have a goal and you want that to be permanent, but the way you get to that goal doesn't have to be fixed and permanent. It can be flexible. We think we have to get to a place in a certain way, in a certain time, in a certain fashion. But that's not true. It's not true at all. And we got more time than what we think. Everybody's just like this. It's somebody who's got something over you that wants to throw time in your face. We don't have time. It's not about time. Um, there's not a limit of time. There's not an overabundance of time. Just you, you're going to get there. Like I see too many people like destroy themselves like mentally, because they just can't let go, or they think that things have to be a certain fucking way. And it's like, man, it's like things are more pliable than what you think. There's a lot more ways to get someplace than you do. And they just put too much on it, or like they think like, oh, this next fight, this means everything. And if I don't have this fight and they lose that fight, now their whole world, crumbles in, and it just, that's not healthy. That's not what this is all about. That's not what this is for. And it's like learning how to develop a mindset that will allow you to live with yourself by the end of the night. I guess. It's so hard to come up with something like that. What to leave for somebody? What kind of advice to give?
Have
It
some,
just sounds like a bunch of bullshit that just came out of my mouth. I mean, but it's real.
yeah.
It's it's there, but it's so there's like a million fucking things.
I feel like
you
people
know.
who study the martial arts or who've been around like you have, they tend to be kind of philosophical about some things, and maybe there's something that is important
Yeah,
that I didn't cover.
yeah.
Yeah.
If you're not philosophical at first, you will be. If you at least do martial arts for at least 5 to 10 years. It's an esoteric thing. If you're not changing your life through martial arts, then you're not doing martial arts right. I always say that. It's if you're not sitting down and thinking about how things are all connected. How is martial arts like going to school or boat building or anything else in life? You can compare it to anything. Like that's one thing I've learned in life is like master one thing, because if you really understand one thing, there's so many parts to that it's like this and it's like that and it's like that. Like if this is like this, then that is like that. Then you know what I mean. You can connect dots faster. You can the more cosmology that you have of understanding and knowledge. Like say I have the more spheres of knowledge that I have out here, the more they connect to each other. You understand what I mean? And
Hmm.
then when something else that I have to learn, it's going to be easier for me to learn that because through the learning processes that I did in this thing that I mastered, if there's something else I need to pick up and learn, I'm going to take these things that I've learned on how to master this and apply it to learning this as well. Kind of like a language. Like after you've learned one language, it's easier to learn other languages.
Right.
You can pick up faster because of the processes that you went through to make the connection with the other languages in your brain. So like the more you learn, the easier it is to learn other things. So
Hmm.
the more you know about one thing, the faster you're going to learn about other things that you know nothing about. So it's better to master one thing, and that will unlock a whole bunch of other things in your life. So my martial arts unlock a shit ton. Martial arts is just one aspect. I am a martial artist, yeah, but it's not who I am. It's an aspect of me. I used to think that that's what I was, and that's who I was, and that's all I was, and that's what I wanted to be, and I put all my eggs in that basket, and that's what I wanted my ego to be. But now I know I think I've reached a healthy place where it's a part of me, and if I never do it again, I'll be okay. And if I get to do it again, that's awesome too, you
Hmm.
know, but it's all here. The knowledge is there, and it's always in my head. I got my mats, you know.
Yeah, I think I can get
Oh,
some of those.
yeah.
Something. You just fold them up when you're done with them. You just fold them, or do you leave them out there
No,
all the
this is
time?
my basement. No, this is kind of just
No, I'm saying the mats. Do you leave them out there all the
no.
time?
They stay there all the time.
Okay.
This is my life. It's who I am. You know what I mean? It's like a part of me. It's a part of me. It's a part of my art of my life.
Hmm.
It's a collection of what I've collected. I'm a father, husband, friend. You know, like all the relationships I have. I've done all kinds of different work and different jobs. The military. I'm a what I'm breaking it down to is what is it? Healer, teacher, and creator. Those are my three things in life. I can adjust people. I know how to take their pain away. I can do like all the adjustments like a chiropractor does, or you know, uh, I learned through the Japanese, coming up through the Japanese wrestling and things like that, how to manipulate the spine. I became friends with tons of chiropractors, and they let me adjust them. And like, yeah, you're fine. Yeah, you're doing it good. You just keep doing it like that, everything's fine. I do massage. Uh, I have a degree in business management and international marketing, social entrepreneurship. Um, yeah, for loss prevention. I mean, I've just done so many different things, and I'll do many more different things before my time is over. But that's the thing is that I don't just get stuck on
Yeah.
this thing, and I used to. I used to. I'm not saying I was always like that. I've been forced to. Like, if I wouldn't have had all my injuries, I probably would have been a lot more unsuccessful in my psychological health. To be honest, I don't know,
Yeah,
but
I've done a lot of jobs too. I think when I first, when you first get in the workforce, you feel like, oh, if I don't have this job, or if I got terminated from this job, the whole world's gonna. But it's not really like that. It's more like one door closes, another door opens, and you just continue.
yeah, and that's our experience. Like if we can actually go from a rational point of thought, just from our own experience, and like this things that we're imagining isn't going to happen. It's like, and things aren't as bad as what we make them out to be. But that's the dilemma of all humans.
Right. I think though you were better off, like Jason Lewis was saying, if you put all your eggs in one basket, it's probably not healthy for anyone. You know,
Right.
it's
And
it's
we see it. You got poor guys who are, like most of these athletes are alcoholics and pill addicts and, in and out of prison, jail, whatever, man. I feel sorry for these people, man. I it's a rough life because you got everybody blowing smoke up your ass for so long, and then when you're washed up, you got a fray group of people who are, like a WWF type fans, who are just diehard fans who will like you no matter what and think you're the best no matter what. You can be puking on their lap and hitting on their girlfriend, and they'd still think you're the best. You know what I mean?
yeah.
It's like, that's wired. That's weird.
Yeah.
But it's all about the relationships in the end, all of it. Like everything about my martial arts career, it's all the relationships I've created. Now, the main thing about martial arts for me, it's a segue into helping people's lives. No matter what, whenever I'm teaching, I try to be didactic in my approach. I try to do something philosophical, you know, you know, spiritual, metaphysical, whatever. I try to get people to think deeper than just, we're twisting limbs and doing physical shit. It's more than this. It's supposed to be more than that.
I think that's a good note to leave it on, that it is more, or it should be more than that. I don't know if that's getting lost these days, but it might be to some degree.
It's a free country. People can do what they want. You have some places, you have some schools where they have a good culture, and you have schools might not like their culture. To somebody's heaven is that dickhead place. That's somebody's heaven. There's something for everyone. There's always the right place. It's just if that gym, that's something I'll tell people. Look, if you're just starting jiu-jitsu or martial arts, MMA, whatever in general, if that first school you go to doesn't fit you, there's another one. Okay, don't give up on the idea of doing martial arts. It's just that school's culture doesn't fit yours. I've been in schools cultures where you would think you were in a fucking right-wing conservative rally. Another, you were in some kind of liberal hippie commune. You know what I mean? It's there's something for everyone. Okay, just like sexual partners. People are weird, man. There's something for everyone.
Well,
Jiu-jitsu's like sex.
well, I appreciate you taking the time to do this. I know we've talked for a long time, but I appreciate your time. I couldn't do this stuff unless people like you were willing to take time to do it.
Well, no, I like what you're doing. You have a good, competent thing going on. You see people pop up all the time, left and right. And I've been following you for a while. I was just like, yeah, man, I like this guy. He's cool. He's a straight shooter. He doesn't have an agenda. I've had people who try to draw things out to embarrass people, and
yep,
that didn't go far. It's been very cool.
Yeah, but I appreciate you taking the time, and if you ever want to shoot the breeze again, I'd love to have you on again sometime.
No worries. That's something I would like to do. Like a psychedelic athlete, we were talking about that, like starting a different trend where you kind of like have guests that kind of like come back every few months, every once in a while, kind of peek back in to see how that would go. Yeah, that would be cool.
Psychedelic athlete?
What's that?
Are you thinking about doing a show like Psychedelic Athlete?
Oh, I was a second guest. He's a good friend of mine. like I knew him prior, and he's like, "Yeah, man, I got this idea. I think I want to." I go, "Yeah, man, that'd be great. He's got a good mind for this, and he's a cool dude. That'd be something like you guys should interview each other sometime."
Psychedelic. I'll check him out for sure.
Yeah, he's fun. He's a nice guy. His name's Mike Turpin, Turpin.
All right. Yeah, I'll be sure to check him out. Now, where can people, if they want to follow you? I know you're not really big into that, but if they wanted to follow you,
Alien, Alien Blueprint.
Alien Blueprint on Instagram, that would be the only one.
Yeah, Facebook. I don't really fuck. I'm about to like. I've got to figure out how to like detach my Instagram from my Facebook so I can just delete my. Because I set up my Instagram through my Facebook, so I want to just delete Facebook altogether. I don't even fucking use it anymore. And it's just
I don't really use it much either. I don't find myself using it a lot.
man, I hate Zuckerberg. So I mean, isn't Instagram Zuckerberg shit too though?
I don't
Is
know.
that part of Facebook? What is it? I don't even know who owns what.
I
I
think
don't.
I can do more of this here, and the people that I know from my regular life probably don't care about this kind of stuff. So I don't find myself using it as much. I
Yeah.
love using this.
Yep, Instagram's my main thing, so that's where I prefer to communicate on. So if anybody wants to get a hold of me, this is it. I'm available for seminars. If you want to learn something that you never thought you didn't know or needed to know, I've been doing this for a long time. I'm not a dirty dozen, but I've been doing it for a long fucking time.
You're around before them.
I don't know, when did they start? I mean, I was 94 when I started jiu-jitsu, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't even remember.
Well, I mean,
But my first
like
jiu-jitsu was under. Oh man, here's a quick
okay.
tip for we didn't touch on, but one of the things I should have touched on was the IF Academy, Integrated Fighting. Jason Gotzi is a name
Right.
that should be fucking known in the fucking MMA world. Chris Lytle, he was my training partner. I actually have a video of him and I doing a promo video for Pancrase in Jason Gotzi's mother's basement. We have like these shin and instep pads on and stuff like that. It was open-handed slap stuff, but the whole there was this Indiana scene of fighters that were just amazing. Like Gary Myers came out of there, Alex Stiegling came out of there, Chris Lytle, Jason Gotzi. But man, that's a pot of people, man, that need to be known about. They're just amazing.
That's what the podcast. That's what Lytle's been doing with this show. Have you ever seen it?
That's cool. No, I haven't gotten to see it yet.
The two guys that I do that conspiracy hour show with. Have you seen it?
Okay.
That I've been putting.
Yeah.
Well, those guys are on Chris Lytle's podcast. They're part of his. He has three guys.
Right.
Him and those.
Okay.
Miguel Iterate, Mike Davis, Chris Lytle. So it's called the Lights Out Podcast, and they bring people like you on there. It's all old stuff, nothing new.
But what's weird is Chris reminds me of Stipe, and they're both fucking firefighters.
Mm-hmm.
They both have that very down to earth. You are not going to shake me. You're not going to get me to talk shit. You're not going to get me to act like an asshole, and I'm not going to act like a monkey for you. That is what's cool about Chris Lytle, is that he just never got into any of that shit. He's just your fucking blue collar. He's your blue collar fighter. He's a fucking national treasure in my eyes. Like I really truly think he's one of the best humans out there as far in the whole MMA world. He's really just a good dude. But that's what we'll leave it on. How about that?
Yeah. And like I said, maybe we could get you on the Lights Out podcast. That might be a good one to do.
Yeah, maybe that'd be awesome.
They're right up your alley, man, because they only do old school. I'll have to show it too, but they've had guys like you're talking about, Gary Myers. They had him on. They've had all those kind of guys. That's
Shoney Carter. I mean, we had the same manager. Phyllis Lee was our manager.
Mm-hmm.
That's a whole other fucking era. That's a whole other story. Like Phyllis Lee.
Yeah, we could do that sometime. Maybe we could bring on a Phyllis Lee fighter, and we could probably bring on a couple of different people. That'd probably be funny.
Oh shit, dude! You have Jason Gotzi, Chris Lytle, Shoney Carter, me, Dan Severn, and then I think a few others. I don't remember. I can't remember if the Gasolies were under her or not. The Gasolie brothers. I can't remember. But there's a whole fucking history, man. It's so weird. There's a whole underground thing of it all that nobody knows about.
Yeah, we should do that sometime. Mike's not
Hell
too
yeah.
about Dan Severn either, so I think you'd fit right in on the Lights Out podcast because he's not a fan of Dan either.
Everybody, Phyllis Lee told me, she's like, every single time we would go somewhere, people would come up to me and be like, Phyllis, is Dan mentally retarded? And I'm quoting, okay, but that was like, everybody thought he was like mentally challenged because he's just so fucking dumb.
He's out there for sure. Well, it's great talking with you, and I'll get with you in a moment, and I'll get this all sent out to you. But it was great talking to you again, and I appreciate you taking all the time.
All right, brother, no problem. And thank you. It was fun.
All right, take care.
All right, take care.